Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is about 12 weeks to go until the Tarawera Ultramarathon, and as a result, I think we're starting to see questions on Facebook and Reddit about compulsory gear, what the course is like, hints and tips, that sort of thing. So it occurred to me that maybe I should make a series of short videos talking about my experiences running at Tarawera and things that I found useful to know. And today's topic is mandatory gear. Before we get into that, probably I should give a brief disclaimer. I have absolutely no association whatsoever with either Ironman or the Tarawera Ultramarathon. I am just some bloke on the internet who quite likes running long distances and making videos. So, we're going to talk about compulsory gear. How the system for compulsory gear works at Tarawera, in particular in reference to the 102k. And then we're going to talk about the items themselves and give some hints and tips. So, how does compulsory gear work? If you go on the Tarawera Ultramarathon website and you look at your distance, there will be a list of compulsory gear, and it varies from half a dozen items for most of the shorter races up to quite a long list for the miler. What will happen is you should probably have all of those items. A few days before race day, they will announce what the actual gear is you will need for the race. That will be a subset of that. It may include all of the items, or if the weather is looking good, it may need fewer. My recommendation to you is to go and have all of those items and get them checked well beforehand. You can do that at any Macpac store in New Zealand. I believe it was recently announced, so that when you turn up on the day, or you can take just what you need with you, you don't have any last minute worries and need to go shopping to pick up bits of items you lost or forgot or anything else like that. You're all set to go. You must have all of that compulsory gear with you at all times during the race as well, because otherwise, in theory, you could get a penalty. So, compulsory gear. They list about half a dozen items for the 102k. So you have to have a head torch. I have a Black Diamond Sprinter that I got from Bivouac or something like that. Probably cost me $50-60. I got it in 2015 or 2016, and it's lasted really, really well. I don't feel it's a particularly expensive piece of gear. You can spend anything from $20 for a really cheap one to a couple of hundred for something that will light up the entire countryside around you. Make sure it's charged before race day, or have batteries or a spare torch in your drop bags, and we'll talk about drop bags on another day. Hat and gloves. Now, before we get to looking at thermal gear, there is a rule that all items of thermal gear, so thermal top, thermal leggings, hat and gloves, must be made from polypropylene, wool or merino. They can't be made from anything else. Which means that in theory things like fleece, which is made of polyester, are out of the question. I advise you to go get gear made from one of those three materials, because when you get it checked they will look at what it's made. I've had this happen to me before, and if you don't have it from the right gear they will not sign it off, regardless of how you may feel about polyester or anything else like that. It's just the way it is. Just go with the flow. So, a hat. I have a small merino hat that I bought from Macpac. This is quite an expensive one for the size of it, because it's made of merino, I guess, so it's probably something like $30, but you could just get a cheap $10 wool hat and that will be absolutely fine. Top tip for the day, elastic bands. Great for wrapping around your kit, looking after it, and making it sure it sort of stays untangled and mucked up, so you end up with a nice neat package like that. Gloves, similarly, wool, polypropylene, merino. This is just a cheap pair of wool gloves I bought from, I can't remember where, so nothing special, but they'll do the job. Leggings, Polypro in this case, Polypro top. The top and the leggings made from Polypro you can get absolutely cheap as chips from just about any store, and they nearly always have a sale on. Sort of quite often in summer, which is good timing for Tarawera. So that's probably not a huge amount, and I'll stick some examples of how much you can spend on these kind of things below. But I can't think that's more than about $30. Although you could buy really, really flash merino gear for much more. Your waterproof jacket must have two particular features. Firstly, it must have a hood. So I have an Outdoor Research Helium 2 jacket with a hood. It also has a brim, and it's got a little bit of wire so you can shape it. Now, if you're a glasses wearer like me, having a brim is a good idea. The second feature is that the jacket must be seam sealed. So what that means is where the individual pieces of fabric that the jackets are made from are sewn together, they then have a kind of tape that's heat sealed. It's actually ironed on over the seam, so the bits where it's sewed through, all of the holes are closed up, and that means it maintains its waterproof integrity. The Helium 2 jacket I have was probably a couple of $100, but I bought it in, again, 2015 or 16, I think it was, for the Kepler Challenge, and it's served me really, really well since then because I've looked after it. You could probably get away with spending a bit less, maybe $80, or you could spend probably quite as much as you wanted on a jacket. Those are your 6 items of compulsory gear that you need to have for the 100k. And like I say, probably the most important thing is for the jacket, seam sealed and must have a hood. All of the thermal bits must be made from polypropylene, wool or merino. And head torch, don't forget to charge it and or have spare batteries. Now you need to carry all of that gear, and there's a couple of options. I have run Tarawera and the Tarawera Ultramarathon in good weather conditions when you didn't need much compulsory gear with a Camelback Nano. It's probably not even 5 litre pack. It's very, very lightweight. I'm lucky that I have multiple packs. I actually won this one in a raffle held by Cecilia Flory a few years ago when she was raising money for Western States. It's nice, but if you're really going to be a one-pack kind of trail runner, I would probably go for something like this. This is a Salomon 12 litre pack, because you will fit all of this gear and more, including all of the gear for the miler. Incidentally, I will be running the miler in this. They are quite expensive though. So there are alternatives. I think Kathmandu has a zeolite pack that's probably a bit cheaper, maybe even half the price. But certainly, if you're a one-pack kind of person, to avoid having lots and lots of bits of gear, get something about a 12 litre pack. That'll really, really serve you well. Make sure you have this, like I say, all of the gear. Get it checked ahead of time at a Macpac, and don't forget the special features. I hope your training is going really, really well. I'm starting to get up to volume. I'm procrastinating a little bit today because I know I've got to get out there for a decent run during a weekday evening, so I'm going to have dinner and get that done. But in the meantime, I hope your training is going really, really well. I'm looking forward to Tarawera myself. I'm running the miler, and I'm a little bit excited and slightly terrified about it at the same time. Good luck, guys and gals. Any questions? Stick them in the comments below.